So for the last 10 years, the bulk of my client base seems to have been midlife or seniors. And there are some very specific challenges people in this age group face, one of them being what we call the empty nest syndrome. So I want to cover three key insights and tips on how to embrace this time in life and maybe even rediscover ourselves. So tip number one is to embrace the opportunity for some self-discovery and some personal growth. You're never too old to grow. Tip number two is reconnect with some of the passions and some of the hobbies that you always enjoyed. Tip number three is to foster new relationships and some social connections, right? Don't allow this stage of life to overwhelm you. Get out and live it. So along with those three simple tips on what we can do, what might be some action steps that you can implement into your daily life and truly take advantage of this empty nest syndrome, this stage of life? Well, I worked with hundreds, literally hundreds of clients, and the three most common action steps that they chose to take and that worked well was number one, simply to create a list of activities, of hobbies, or anything to that effect that you've always wanted to pursue. Things you enjoyed doing in the past or recently, maybe even way back, or things specifically that you've wanted to do but you never actually took advantage of. You never actually went out and did it, or maybe not as much as you'd like to. Okay, that was action step number one. And I'm going to challenge you to do that. Take a few minutes, sit down with a journal, a notebook, whatever it is you have, write it on a whiteboard, however you would track it, reminders in phone if you're a techie, and write out as many as you can. If you can write a bucket list of hobbies and of things that you want to do moving forward in life, write them out so you have a clear picture of what this next stage of life could mean for you. These are the could be's. These are the things that you'd like to do. And then you can simply prioritize them. You don't have to sit there and make multiple lists. If you decide you don't want to do it, if you try it, you don't like it, cross it off the list. Use highlighters, right? Green for the things that are really high on the list, or different colors, whatever method you want to use to say these are priority. These next ones, I'll try them next, and put them in order and try something new. Try one thing new a month and see what you think of it. And go through a few of them before you lock into something consistently. That was a number one tip that a couple of my clients really found beneficial for them. Is they started to get locked into something and then realized, wait, there's these other things I want to do. So they made a commitment. They took, I think it was 4 or 6 months. I'm remembering one couple in particular. And they went through like 15 things that were on their list. They had a pretty substantial list of things they wanted to try. And they went through and they did all of them over just a few months. I think they were doing like one a week or one every 2 weeks, something like that. They made it through about 15 of them. And then they picked like the top 3 or 4 out of those, and those are the ones that they made very consistent. And then they sprinkled in some of the ones that were lower down on the list. And I know I worked with them over, I don't know, probably a 6-month period, and then we stayed in touch a little bit after that. And it really worked for them. And they actually found some hobbies that they picked up together that they each had individually on their list, and found that they both liked the activity. So that was a really cool thing. So it's simple. Create a list. Here's activities, here's hobbies, here's things that I would like to try or that I used to like and I want to try again. Number 2 is joining local clubs or some sort of like a community that's centered around what your interests are. Perfect example, I like Jeeps. I like off-roading. I've always liked being, outdoors and camping. So I bought a Jeep a couple of years ago, and I actually recently started Life Design Off-Road YouTube channel. These are the types of things that you can do just to get out there. I've always thought it'd be cool to take a cooking class, not even per se a class, but you see this in movies, right? They go to some place and there's a group of 20 or 30 people, and they learn to cook one particular meal or entree or whatever you want to call it. I never went ahead and did that, but it is something that's still on my bucket list. So pick something you would be interested in and just give it a shot. Or even if you don't think you're that interested, but other people said they were, try it. You never know, you might like it. I always thought golf would be boring until I was out on the, what I call it, the fairway in Chicago area, and there was a doe walking across the fairway there, and we had to hold up. It was amazing. So find some clubs or some groups. If you say, well, I'm not really into people that much, what have you, it doesn't have to be this big, huge social thing. Find one or two people. I'm getting into ham radio. I don't know anything about it yet, but I'm taking an online course, and I'm going to be able to talk to people all over the world if I go ahead and get myself a high-end unit that can travel that far. So that's something that might be pretty cool. Okay. Number 3 action step is to attend some kind of workshops or classes to learn a new skill. Like I just mentioned, ham radio. I just mentioned potentially cooking. Maybe some kind of dance or workout. Something that's physical that also, let's be honest, you hit a certain age, the body tends to want to slow down. Try something that's physical and yet meets your specific health or fitness level. Any type of workshop or class, learning a new language, maybe an instrument, getting back into something you did when you were young. I used to play trumpet. I'd love to get back into playing trumpet. That was a blast when I was a kid, and I think it'd be a lot of fun now. Anything to this effect gives you something to look forward to. Anything you have an interest in, there's most likely workshops, classes, groups that are involved in something similar, and you can participate at whatever level you're comfortable with. So share in the comments, what are some things that you've done? I don't care what age you are. I'm generally speaking to middle-aged or even seniors, but maybe you're in your 20s or 30s. Maybe you're a teenager and you've recently started being engaged in some new hobby, some new group, whatever it is. So if we look back at what this is, these are things that you can take into account at any stage of life, at any age, right? Where we all have transitions that we go through. Empty nesters just happens to be a very popular one for middle age. So 3 key points. Embrace the opportunity at whatever age you are for some self-discovery, for some personal growth. Tip 2 was reconnecting with our passions and our hobbies. And tip number 3 was fostering new relationships or some sort of social connections. And the action steps that we can do each one of those, you want to embrace some opportunity, create a list of things that you're interested in, a list of things you would like to try, and just slowly start trying them. Okay? The tip 2, the reconnecting with your passions, the local clubs, communities that are centered around this type of interest. If you're into social media, you can find anything. Okay? If you're not, maybe that's something you'd like to slowly start learning a little bit about. Can it be frustrating? Sure. I know that firsthand. But can it also be enjoyable when you control the level at which you get involved? Of course it can. Okay? And then the third one, which was, of course, fostering some new relationships and some new social connections. How do you do that? You do that you can do it on social media, but I recommend getting out, attending some workshops, some classes, go to some places where people are engaged in it, and just participate at your own pace, at your own level of engagement. Give it a shot. So go ahead and share in the comments some things that you would find an interest in. hopefully what my clients used in the past helps you out. But share a little bit about what you've done or what you think you would like to do to embrace this area of your life, and use that information or share that information to inspire other people. So I hope you found this video engaging and helpful, and please go ahead and share in the comments and subscribe and ring that bell, and we'll see you next time.